Good Friday morning, everybody. We have made it to the end of another work week, and with the end of a work week comes Pass Rush Friday. That's right, the fifth and final of our weekly series where we take a look at some aspect of the Seahawks to monitor how they're doing over the course of a long season. And just like yesterday with the pass coverage stats, these pass rush stats are probably not going to be very good. If you watch the game on Sunday, you probably already know that we didn't do a very good job rushing the passer. Now, I will say this, in terms of just the raw pressure numbers, it doesn't look quite as bad as it probably was. So these numbers, which are not very good, are actually probably not even doing a great job of capturing how futile it was getting pressure on Kirk Cousins. But nevertheless, we got to go over the numbers and keep in mind as we go through these numbers, the Vikings ran a lot of screen passes against the Seahawks, and most of them were successful. And on those plays, you kind of want the quarterback to get pressured because it means there are players who are going upfield towards the quarterback and are going to be taken out of the play on the screen because you're going to quickly dump the ball off to your running back or what have you, and the running back isn't going to have to worry about the guy who's already past him when he turns around to try to run with it. So some of these pressures, I don't know which ones exactly, but I can tell you that some of these pressures were not even that valuable because the Vikings planned for it, the Vikings schemed against it. The pressure actually worked to the advantage of the Minnesota Vikings. But nevertheless, let's take a look at what we have in game number 3, starting with the defensive ends. And there isn't a whole heck of a lot to speak of here. Dunlap, I didn't think he played that well against the Vikings, but PFR gave him 2 pressures, which, to be perfectly honest, is 2 more than I thought he had in that game. So he actually, in terms of pressures, had his best game of the year, brings his season total up to 3. Still not where we need it to be at all, and I'll say it again, I think at least one, maybe both of these pressures came on a screen where he wasn't able to actually impact the play the way he wanted to. Nothing for Alton, nothing for Mayowa, who didn't play, and Kerry Hyder played 13 plays, so he, of course, didn't really do much. Rasheem Green did have 1 pressure, so he's up to 4 on the season, which is pretty good, but yeah, we got a total of 3 pressures from our defensive ends. Not good. Not what we're looking for, and not what's going to get this team out of the muck on defense. All right, so defensive tackle is similarly bad, and I don't know what to say about the Poona Ford thing, except that through 3 games, it seems like it was a mistake to convert him to a 3-tech. It seems like he's much more comfortable as a 1-tech who can occasionally get pressure or playing 3-tech sporadically, but it doesn't seem like it's working right now. And I spoke about this on the stream with Hawk's Nest yesterday afternoon, but it is beyond unacceptable that this team didn't realize that Poona wouldn't be able to hack it as a 3-tech because they've been watching him play for the last 3 years, and not just in games, but in practice, in training camp, pretty much every day throughout the season. You're watching this guy play, you can't figure out that he can't handle this? So Poona didn't get any pressure. Al Woods didn't. That's not really his job. LJ Collier was inactive. Brian Monet did not get any pressures. The only defensive tackle pressure we got credited for came from Robert Kimdichie, who had 1. So I'll give my credit to Kimdichie. He has done pretty well for a guy in his position, and he has earned his spot on the 53-man going forward. But if that's the answer, I don't know if I want to hear the question. But with the way things are going with Collier, he's going to have a positive impact on this team if we're going to get to where we want to get on defense. So unless you count Darrell Taylor, who I'll talk about in a minute here, if you combine our entire defensive line, they got pressure on Kirk Cousins 4 times. That's a problem. That's a big problem, and it's nowhere near what I was expecting this season. Okay, so linebacker is where most of the action happened, and I'll reiterate it again because it probably goes double for instance, Jordan Brooks. Some of these pressures actually played right into the Vikings' hands. Bobby Wagner got credited with 1 pressure, so he's actually doing very well so far this season in this regard. Jordan Brooks had 2 pressures against the Vikings. Um, Watching the game, I didn't see a whole heck of a lot I liked from Jordan Brooks, so I guess this is good, but again, I think the pressures that we got against the Vikings were not that effective. Daryl Taylor, he got 1 pressure, and that was actually a valuable one because he got a sack on it, a strip sack, in fact. So I'll give Taylor his props. He was one of the few players on defense I was happy with. And Cody Barton actually got in on a pressure as well. I think that was on the, late in the 4th quarter, though, so not a meaningful one, but he finally gets on the board with a QB pressure nevertheless. And that's it for the linebackers. And that's actually going to be it for the whole team because our cornerbacks didn't get any pressure, and neither did our safeties. Jamal Adams, 3 games, 0 QB pressures. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem to be utilizing the Jamal Adams skill set all that well. So I don't know where we go from here on that front, but I do know that you are to a certain extent wasting Jamal Adams if you can't get him to pressure the QB at least once a game, or I don't know, maybe I would go once every other game at least, but probably more. So something's got to give there, and I don't know exactly what the answer is, but whatever they're doing right now is clearly not working. So you add it all up, and you're at 31 QB pressures after 3 games. Do the math, you'll see that we're not on pace to get to 200. We're on pace to fall short of 180. And that's with some of these pressures being empty. Like, I think Dunlap got pressure on a play where he was actually in coverage on a tight end, came off the tight end to rush Cousins, and then Cousins found the tight end for a first down. That's not really doing all that much to help you. Dunlap's basically caught between a rock and a hard place on that play, and he ends up going to the hard place. So I don't know. I expected a lot from this pass rush this year. The obvious fix, and I already addressed this a little bit, was stop rushing your defensive. Stop dropping your defensive linemen into coverage and play simpler defenses. That has problems in and of itself, but these guys who are here to rush the passer, like a Carlos Dunlap, like a Alton Robinson, like a Daryl Taylor, just let them rush the passer. Keep it simple. And don't worry so much about dropping Dunlap into coverage 3 times every game. Just let him rush. That's his thing. He's not good in coverage. He's not good doing things that aren't just rushing the passer with his hand in the dirt. That's why things didn't work out for him at the end in Cincinnati. That's why he moved on. That's why he didn't want to play for them anymore. They were switching to that 3-4, wanting him to play some outside linebacker, and that's not his game. So that's the only thing I can think of that can make this better. I still think that we have a pretty good collection of players. I know Kerry Hyder is supposed to be cleared for the Niners game, which is obviously big. But I think these players have talent. I think this is a stable of pass rushers that can at least be decent, that can be effective. But through 3 games overall, they haven't been. And all I can say is that you got to let the dogs eat. Enough with the crazy blitzing, enough with the weird coverages, enough with dropping guys back into the flats. Just let them go get the quarterback. And that's really the best idea that I have right now. So that's the damage. 9 QB pressures on Cousins, and I'd say probably at least 2 or 3 of those were completely worthless. So with that in mind, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. More videos later today. We got a big game coming up. I'll talk more about it later on. But for now, just take a look at the returns on the investment in this pass rush through 3 games and know that the money and the time and the effort that we spent may not have been well spent. Time will tell. See you guys later.